Well, so my background is in design, product design, but I've been specializing like since many years in electronic textiles, and at the same time also in approaching biology from an hacking point of view, so biohacking, and how it was through like learning myself, so through a DIY, a do-it-yourself approach, by really researching online, but also being part of communities like the DIY, no, the biohack in London, in Hackney, and also just by really connecting online with people from Akitiri in Swiss. So just try to understand what is this approach in learning something that for you is more a passion because you're an amateur in that discipline, but you are gonna learn because you just want to really get new knowledge. So my curiosity was really to understand how to grow bacteria. And since I was and I am specializing myself in the world of female intimate care, I wanted to understand how can we as female, we can grow our own vaginal bacteria at home. So I started to really approach it from a DIY perspective. I started to grow bacteria at home in my kitchen near the hub. So I was just learning the techniques on how to have a sterile environment, which type of bacteria I could grow. So I was growing, for example, lactobacillus, and then I was growing them in my room. So a real hacker, but at the same time, I was really growing a symbiosis between my microbiome and the microbiome I was growing in the Petri dishes. And I was also interested in combining bacterial growing with textiles. So sometimes I was inoculating some bacteria on some piece of textile that were inside the agar-agar. So just to see if they would combine. I was followed by PhD biologist that she was all the time giving me suggestions, but it was really mainly like an individual exploration. And probably this individual exploration is what also citizen science means. So the possibility for every citizen, for every person to really acquire this knowledge in science or technology and to really become active participant. And I translated this citizen science topic into my project at the time as well, which it's called Future Flora. So how female can become participant in this world of science and technology by growing bacteria at home. So because 75% of women can suffer a vaginal infection at least once in their lifetime, it means that and when it's about a vaginal infection, you really don't have a good balance of the healthy bacteria in your vaginal flora. So what if we just know how to grow healthy bacteria at home so that when we have symptoms of an infection coming, we can just grow our own bacteria, place it in the underwear and wear it so that the good bacteria will start to regrow in our body. And that was a speculative kit, which I designed, and then which led me to also develop the project I'm working on, which is called ALMA, where we are actually a multidisciplinary team. So actually by learning how to work with bacteria, I also learned to talk somehow in a scientific language, or at least I understand what is that language so that I can create a bridge from my design language to the scientific language. So indeed now in my own team, I collaborate with material scientists, scientists specialized in nanomaterials, with a medical anthropologist, data scientists. So we are just really multidisciplinary, and we just connect like our language by bridging it. But let's say what we do there, we also combine education and technology to create a cultural change in female intimate care. So what I proposed during the residency to actually make a bioplastic pad that is sensitive to pH changing is because actually pH is an indicator for healthy vaginal flora. So a vaginal flora should have like a pH 4 or 4.5, very acidic. But if a bacterial infection is coming, it will shift to 6, 7, so it will become very alkaline or basic. And most of the time when women have some symptoms of irritation or a bad smell, or they just don't feel well, like not all the women all the time go to the doctor or go to the pharmacy. They are just maybe scared. They don't want to share. They are embarrassed, which is happening all over the world. Like this taboo, unfortunately, it's everywhere. So, but why not that everyone can just measure their own pH and understand which infection is coming. So at the moment in the pharmacy, you can find already some swab, like some small tampon that you put inside the vagina, and you can take a color change. But what I wanted to create was something wearable, so not invasive, and that could also be biodegradable. So the solution I proposed for everyone to also work together was this pad made of agar-agar, and which is colored with red cabbage dye or the pea flower, or cochineal. They are all like a pigment sensitive to pH, so that in contact with vaginal fluid, if it's a vaginal fluid that it doesn't have a good pH, will change colors so that the user can understand and then throw it in a biodegradable waste. It's still on an exploration point of view, because still to wear agar-agar, you should be careful, because agar-agar can still really be contaminated on a normal environment. But let's say that it would be very interesting to develop different type of biomaterial and see how you can just make your own pad that measure pH. So I guess it brings also to craft, in the way that you can just make it your own and craft it to make actually even the shape that suits you, or the type of pH color that you need. But just this, what I mainly enjoy by crafting thing is that you first, you are in control, but at the same time, if you can also understand other disciplines, you can even innovate your craft. So, for example, you as a craftswoman or craftsman, you can work with a biologist or someone working with electronics. So you can just enlarge your skills. Coincidence. Using the butterfly pea, it's because I've been doing some work when I was living in Malaysia. So sometimes I used to travel a lot in Penang, this island in the northwest of Malaysia, and there also the butterfly pea flower is growing, and I was using it to dye, to make this pad sensitive to pH. And it was just interesting that also the shape of the flower looks like a vulva. Like there were many things connecting me to really use it in my own project. So not only that it was sensitive to pH, but also the aesthetic, and it was just something I could find in nature that I could just grow. So I didn't have to buy maybe a red cabbage, but actually we had a plant that was just growing flower pea, the butterfly pea, and also those type of flowers, they usually, when they blossom, then they usually last one day. So they only blossom in the day, and then when they close, then other blossom will blossom again. So the nice part is that I found some plant also in the city, in Georgetown, which is a very small town, and there were some vendors that they had this plant that they were telling me that I could go also during the day to collect those flowers from them. They were happy. So actually it became also a bit more like local community based, and they were asking me why I was doing it. So it was just a beautiful way on how I discovered that flower. Yes. And probably, but again, this is probably the way that tradition is also used in the kitchen, that flower, but to me it inspired for vaginal pH and for vaginal pH detecting. And of course, from there, now I'm moving to actually make a pH sensor in a lab. So it's really shifting from maybe a more natural product to like a scientific one that I will produce. Yeah. So it's not really new and old, but it's maybe natural and lab based.